Hi guys, today we're going to be creating a dark landing page for a local gym in Figma. Let's get to it. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is create a new document. So let's just create a new design file in here. Quickly just title it landing page. All right, we're just going to clean up. This will be our design version 1. And now I'm going to jump in and go and create some styles. So the first thing we want to do is to set up some text styles. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to label this. Let's go Barlow. Let's give it a bold. And I'm going to go for a bit of a traditional style. So I'm going to go 64 and I'm just going to round this line height to the nearest 5 pixel unit. And that'll be my vertical rhythm. I'll be putting it in 5 pixels. So there's our first headline, 6475. And now I'm just going to whip this down for our second headline. We're going to go 36 and 40. That'll be headline 2. Headline 3, we'll do 24 pixels. And we'll give that a line height of 30. And now we've got header 4, sorry, 1820. I'll try and whip through this. And let's go 14, maybe 1620. Fantastic. And this will be our type system for our headers. Just going to go and quickly create something for our paragraph. So our paragraph will be 24 points and 30 pixels, but we'll put this in regular. And that'll be our lead paragraph. And then we'll go and create just a standard paragraph. And I'll set that at 18, maybe like 1825 for this one, just to give it a little bit more breathing room. And I like to split out just the button style. Not that one, just this one. It's pretty similar to our headline 4 here, but I like to split them out just so that I have the opportunity to change these down the track if I want. Just noticed I've probably want these in uppercase, so I'll just quickly do that. Glad I noticed that before we created the header style. Fantastic. And that will be our type system, which should suit us pretty well for this project. So I'm just going to register these in Figma now. So we've got header 1, and that was 6475 pixels. I got header 2, and that was 36 pixels. 40. Got header 3, 2430. Header 4, which was 1820. And finally header 5, which was at 1620. Fantastic. And now we're just going to register our lead paragraph as a local style. 2430. And then our paragraph, which was 1825. And our button. Fantastic. Now that we've got those in place, we'll want to set up a bit of a color system. So I'm just going to create 6 rectangles down below here, which will serve as our color system. And I'll just punch in, we've got a bit of a brand color here for the red. These are just colors I've prepared before, obviously. 1F2327. And then we've got 3C, 3C, 3C. F9. And then just pure white. So I'm just going to register these styles now. So this was 6. Put that hex code in there. So it's just a simplified color system for our small landing page. Almost done. Fantastic. So now we've got almost all the styles that we want to place in place. The next one that I want to just drop in is the grid system. Now, I know my developer is going to want to be using Bootstrap, and I quite like the Bootstrap default grid. So I'm just going to create a new layout grid here, and we want it in columns. So the Bootstrap grid at this breakpoint is 12 columns, and we want to center that, and we're going to send it to a width of 65 pixels and a gutter of 30 pixels. And that'll form the foundational system for how we're going to position elements on the page. And I'll just register that as Bootstrap. And the breakpoint that we're using, which is 1440 pixels. Fantastic. So now I think that's pretty much all our local styles that we want to be putting into this document. Now that we've got those styles set up, I'm going to just go and create a couple of components which will speed up the process as we design the page. So next I want to create a title component which will have a headline, paragraph text, and maybe a button. And this title component will be used for every single section. So let's get that together now. 1440. Fantastic. Headline. Make that header 2. Give it our black, oops, sorry, our white style. Drop this into black. Fantastic. And we'll give it a bit of width. And then we're going to get our paragraph style. So just duplicate that, drag it down, boot up Lorem Ipsum. It's a great little plugin to install. And I'll just generate 2 sentences just to fill that out, just so we have some kind of boilerplate copy. And I'm going to give this, again, keeping our rhythm in 5 pixels, I'm going to give this a margin bottom of 15 pixels. And that is our little component. I might actually create an overline for the headline. So this will be something like the header 5. So I'm just going to create a little button now, hit text, and we'll make this select a membership plan. Now I go Shift A to put that in a component, in a auto layout frame. Center that, and we've got our button. I will put it as a fill as red. We've got white. I will just double check that this contrast checks. So I'm just duplicating this rectangle, popping it in here, and then just booting up the contrast plugin. Oh, we've got a fail. So I'm just going to drop this back ever so slightly to maybe 49. And there we go. Contrast is all in check. And I'm just going to give this a border radius of 5. Now I'm also just going to drop in a chevron. So if I boot up Iconify, and we'll go chevron. Chevron right, that looks good to me. Nice sharp edges. Again, keeping with our 5 pixel theme, let's jump that up to 25 pixels, and I'll just drop that into our little button. I might actually drop that back down to 20 pixels so it matches the copy. And what I want to do is I just want to make this into its own auto layout component. So I selected all that and pressed Shift A. And so now we've got a bit of a structure. This will be tightened up, so I'll just actually put this down as 5. And what's the 15 pixels there? It might be a little bit loose, so I'll tighten that up. And that's our little layout component. Now it's not really behaving. We're going to have to set this to fill container, and I'll press enter in and enter in again just to get those text layers and change that from fixed width to fill container. You can do the same thing by holding Command and Shift and clicking each of these layers, and we can see that they're fill container. We've also just got an auto layout here, which might be stubborn. Yep, fixed width. We'll swap that over to fill container. And now we've got a component that reacts to the size or the width that we give it. And we will align this to the width of our Bootstrap page. But I'll make that a component, so that'll be like our H2 copy component. This will be our button. This will be our headline. And this is like our header group. Fantastic, that's got that there. So now we've got all the pieces that we really need to create to start creating our landing page. I will just, it's a bit redundant. So I'm just going to actually duplicate this and just create a version. So I will detach this and then Command Alt K to create another component, and I'll make this H1 copy. So this is for our big hero section. I'll actually bump this up to header 8 to 18 pixels, and I'll bump this up to the lead. So this will be the copy size for our H1s, and we can flick between those two. I might just rename these so it's copy /H1 and then copy /H2. This will make it a little bit easier for us to flick between on the frames. And let's get into design. So first thing I'm doing is I'm pressing F and clicking on that MacBook Pro preset, and I'm getting that 1440 pixel canvas. I'm mounting the grid, and I'm just going to label this hero. I'm going to make that a little bit smaller, maybe 700 pixels, and give that a background. And this is, oh, maybe number 4 for this. And that's a hero component. Now I'm just going to go back to our styles, and I'm going to copy this nice big headline and paste it in here. It's just Control G to turn on those grids. And we just want it to basically be that 6 columns there. I think that's a good breakpoint. And if we just go, just punch in the copy now. Fantastic. Got a bit of copy there. Let's go 24/7. 24-hour gym access. Fantastic. And that is our copy. Now we might just drop in a logo. So that was that little muscle icon before. I'll just set this back to 40 pixels. And just go like Gym Unlimited. 20, so that kind of lines up. 40 pixels, 40 pixels. I'll pop this in red. And I'll pop this in white. Maybe 20 pixels apart. Put it into a group. Be a little bit tighter. And we'll drag that in. Fantastic. And now we've got a pretty good structure. Now I'm just going to chuck in a background image. So I'm going to boot up the Unsplash plugin. And I'm just going to search for a gym. That's a pretty nice image there. Let's use that one. Fantastic. It's just loaded that. So I'm going to just cut that and click on the frame and then paste it in just so it's inside. And I'm just going to make that the width of our frame. So I'm just going to duplicate this image. I'm going to delete that and create a new fill. I'm going to just clear out the layer with 0 to make it 100% so it's not opaque, and then change that back to pass through and then make that black. I'll go back to the linear, actually. Sorry, excuse me. I'm going to click on number 4, release that, and then go to radial. And this will just give us a nice little radial gradient that we can use. That's a little bit large of a circle. Find that little white dot, and I just drag that in place. I will actually just swap these colors around and then swap it around here. We want this white dot to be on the other side of the page, just to get a little bit of a blend going on. Fantastic. I'll drag this layer in. I'll reset up those constraints. So I'm holding Command, and I'm just making sure that all these 4 are lit up, so that when I remove this frame now, that this layer is going to move with it. I'm just going to rename that layer to gradient. And now I've got that image in the background. And the image just is lacking like a little bit of a grade, I suppose, or visual treatment, or however you would like to call it. So I'm just going to duplicate that layer again. And I'm going to just click number 4 there, and I'm going to set that to color. And what that does is it just gives the image a little bit of a treatment, a little bit of a color grade. And that should do us. I might actually just nitpick here and make that a little bit bigger. But you get the idea. Fantastic. I'll just rename this the logo. Let's keep this clean. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to group all that color treatment. Again, just double checking that constraints are all set up. And I might actually just set this to center. So we don't actually want the image stretching. We just want it to stay in the middle. And same with this. I'm just going to set that constraint to the center, the left, and top to the left. And now we've got a really nice constraint system set up for the image. Beautiful. And I'm just going to highlight the gradient, the image, and the image for holding shift, and I'm going to click, and then Command G to group that, and Command R to rename it. And I'm just going to call that image. So what that does is that means the developer is going to be able to easily export out that image without any hassles. If I had left that as 3 separate layers, the developer wouldn't have been able to, like we just did, group that and export out. They'll be locked out. So that's a nice little thing to do to keep your developers sane. And now we're going to move on to the next section. So we've got that hero in place. Now we want maybe a bit of a feature, maybe an icon feature. So again, just Command R, icon feature. And I'm going to select these 2 frames, and I'm going to click Shift A and put it into an auto layout. And I'm just going to remove that padding. So what that means is I can basically just use the arrow keys, just shift the sections up and down the page so that we can easily rearrange layouts and things. So now we've got that frame in, I'm just going to make that smaller again. We're probably just looking for something around 200 pixels. And I'm going to change that background style to number 4. And you can see that image is starting to blend in. I'm just command clicking, getting that radial gradient, and I'll just stretch that out just a little bit more. So it's a little more subtle. Fantastic. And now I'm just going to punch in member benefits. Bit of copy, and I'm putting that as H2. Now I've hit Control G just to bring out that layout grid, and I'm hitting on Bootstrap, and I'm just aligning that so it fits pretty nicely into 2 columns there, but we actually want it to be 3. So 255 pixels, that's 3 columns, ready to roll. So now I'm just going to create an icon layout. So let's go 14 day. I'm going to Command D, duplicate this, drag it down. I'm going to drop this down to H3. And I'm going to make that a guarantee. Fantastic. And I'm just shift clicking these 2, and then I'm going Shift A just to bring it into an auto layout frame. And 0, that's great. I'll rename that to copy. And we need an icon in here. So I'm just going to Command Shift click each of these and just swap this over to fill container. It's a little bit annoying, but that's what Figma does by default. So now it's time to drop in some icons. I'm going to reach for the icon monster library because it's got some really nice sharp edges, which will really help us hone in on this really masculine, dark look. So I'm going to search for calendar. Bring one of these up. This will do us. Agree to the terms, and I'm actually just going to hit embed because the cool thing about Figma is that it'll actually just take SVG HTML tags. So if I copy this in, and then paste it in, we've just got that icon ready to go. I'm going to constrain it and then go to 40 pixels, and this will be our little icon. I'm going to change this selection colors to white. I'm going to shift click this other auto layout frame that we have, and I'm going to hit Shift A. And I'm just going to center that. Fantastic. And we actually made a mistake here. This should be 2 columns. So I'm just going to make that 160. And I'm going to change this to 20 might. Actually, I'm actually just going to stretch this out so that it's 3 columns. Fantastic. And then this is going to stretch with it. So this is the fixed element, and this will just stretch to in the available space. Now that we've got that down, this is our little icon. I Command D that, drag it over, and then Command D again. You can see how that 30 pixel spacing really just helps everything snap into place really quickly for us. I'm just going to update some of the copy here. So 24/7 gym access, and then anytime cancellation. Wouldn't that be nice? Fantastic. And we've got to jump in those icons. So 24/7, I think a clock would go well there. Just going to click on this guy. Again, agree, embed, double click, copy, paste, constrain it, click on 40 pixels, and then we're just going to drop that in there. I don't have to worry too much about what's happening now. We'll just switch it over to white and delete that guy. And anytime cancellation, let's just put that in a check, hey? A check on a circle. Oh, it shouldn't be too thick. I agree, embed. Oop, double click that guy. Paste it in, constrain, 40 pixels. And I can use the arrow keys just to move this along. I can delete that. And it all snaps back into place. All right, let's move on and create our other sections. So I'm just going to click this section here and then go Command A, and then I'm going to hold Command and just click this arrow. And you can see how that just collapses up everything in our panel. I'm just going to rename this to homepage or landing page. And it's just Command Enter to enter that. I'm sure Enter works too. And then we're going to go F. We're going to get that MacBook Pro preset again, and I'm going to drop that straight in. And now I'm going to I typically call this a media feature element because it's going to have an image and it's going to have a bit of title copy. So yeah, let's make this 600 pixels for now. So now I'm just going to grab our copy component. So double click in, Command C, and then Command V to paste that in. I'll center that up. And I'm just going to drop this back from our H1 to our H2. It's white text, which is right. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make this number, I'm actually going to make this a little bit darker, maybe number 5. There we go. I've just noticed a little bit of an error there. You can see how the selection colors have got 1, and that's on white, and the red's registered in our logo styles, but we've got this color here that's not actually registered in our color styles, and that is our icon. So I'm just going to go back to the master diamond here and patch that up. So you can see how that's not its own. So I'm just going to link that back up to our color style so it's all consistent. And return to instance. Fantastic. So now I'm going to, again, just mount that bootstrap grid to this section. I'm just going to do that. Center it off. And now it's time to chuck in an image. So I like to think about what kind of content the end user is going to be pouring into this website. And it's probably typically going to be something like a DSLR image. And a DSLR image has an aspect ratio of 2:3. So that means our placeholder should actually follow that aspect ratio. So I'm just going to create a frame here, and I'm going to make this a width of 300 and a height of 200. So that's the aspect ratio of what you would get straight out of a DSLR. And I'm going to drop that straight into our little section here. And I'm going to hold Shift, we'll lock that constraint, and I'm going to hold Shift. I'm going to drag that out just till it's at the 6 column point. So now that's an image placeholder that's the exact aspect ratio of what a client would receive from a photographer. So they don't have to worry about cropping. They don't have to worry about anything about safe areas or something falling out off the image. It'll just drop right in there. And I'm just going to center that up. Fantastic. I might offset that a column. And I'm going to hit Shift A, get us some auto layout. And I'm going to make it a top and bottom margin of 60 pixels and center that off. I just find 60 pixels top and bottom is generally a pretty good rhythm to start off with. So now I'm going to drop in some copy. Let's call this facilities. World-class training experience. Now, I actually want some check marks in here. So I'm actually going to just click this button, hit delete. You can see how nice it is that that's just automatically gone to the center of the page. So I'm just going to go back here and I'm going to build up some chevrons. So if I go back to icon monster, sorry, not chevrons, just some checks. I just find that's probably a bit too thick for us. I'll just get a little skinnier check, hit agree, embed, and then get that inline code. And we've got that there. I'm going to lower this down to 20 pixels so it matches the line height of our copy. And let's do some features, hey? Something like a 24-hour heated pool or something. And then you just want to shift click this because you want the frame, not the icon. And then shift A to get that into a group. Let's get that in the center and maybe 10 pixels. Again, let's just attach these to some styles. And that's looking pretty good. I might actually just chuck this over to 15 and I'll just drop this in. Now that's probably too far away. We probably don't want that much distance. Again, I'm just going to fill container here. This should fill container. And this should fill container. Just so that it all kind of moves in with it. What? Fully air conditioned. What's something else we can do? Over 100 classes. Fantastic, and those are our little checks. Again, I'm not sure about this distance. I'm just going to maybe tighten that up to 20 pixels. What are we dealing with here? 10, 5. Fantastic. And then we've got our little section there. You can see how 480, 265, we might actually boost this up. The tricky thing about using 5 pixels is that sometimes things are, you know, off 5 pixels. It's not an even number, so it doesn't always equally divide. Actually, I might get rid of that and then tighten that up to 15. Fantastic, that's looking great. Just gonna go unsplash, maybe indoor pool. And there's a nice little gym looking pool. Fantastic. Again, I'm just gonna click on that, Command X for cut, Command click into this frame and then paste. And then I'm just gonna Alt Shift click just to drag that in until it locks into the full width. And I might give that a little bit of a crop. It's a bit of an awkward image size. Fantastic. That should do us. I'm just going to give this a little bit of a visual treatment. So I'm just going to click that frame, rename it to image, and I'm actually just going to duplicate that. And I'm going to check that auto layout is off now. I'm going to shift down, shift across, and Command square bracket just to get it behind. I'm going to set it to that red color that we had. And then I'm just going to delete the contents of that frame. I can call it red block or something. Fantastic. And top little, and a neat little trick is that you can actually set the nudge of your document in the preferences, nudge amount. I've just got that big nudge set to 5 pixels. So you can see the adjustments that I'm doing is keeping aligned with that 5 pixel unit, those 5 pixel units that we established earlier in the document. Fantastic. And that's in. So I know what you're thinking. Have I broken the grid system? Well, not really. It's a little bit of a trick that developers can do. It's called pseudo elements. So as long as that parent element is within the grid, they can then put in a pseudo element that with absolute positioning offsets that image by 5 pixels or so, or 15 or 20 pixels here. So it's still within the grid system. It's not going to break anything. I just noticed a little bit of a mistake here. I'm just going to go in here. I'm just going to rename this to checklist. And I'm going to click into here, Command A, and then if I go Command R, I can actually rename these. Check element. And that'll rename all the child elements as well. Let's return back to instance. And now let's create our next frame. So I'm just going to duplicate this, and I'm actually going to swap these two around. And then I'm just going to grab that red block and I'm going to hold shift. Whoop, try not to get that in. Maybe hold space as well. Space will stop elements from falling into other frames. And then maybe shift that in just a little bit. You can see by the 750. 1, 2, 3. That's 25. So 10, 20, 30. Oh, let's go 20. 1, 2, 1, 2, 20. 1, 2, 10, 20, 10, 20. Fantastic. And now we're going to do something like, I don't know, meet the owner. We don't need the checklist for this one, so we're going to go delete that, and then we're going to turn on that little paragraph layer that we had. And I'm going to say something like, for over 10 years. All right, and we're going to boot up on Splash, and we're going to go grab another gym image. This guy looks like he could own a gym. All right, again, just Command X to cut that, and I'll paste that into the frame. And I'll just delete that. Again, you can see how this image actually just came straight off a DSLR, and it fits pretty perfectly into our little placeholder. And I'm just going to give this maybe a little bit of a lighter treatment just to get a little bit of a stripe going through the page, just to create a little bit of visual interest. That 20 pixels is annoying me now. I'll do 15. Awesome. So now we just need a footer. So I'm going to hit F again, MacBook Pro preset. Let's mount that bootstrap grid and let's drag it into our little auto layout. And now I'm just going, again, just make this a little bit more manageable, and I'm going to give this the darker 5. Fantastic. And we probably just want to repeat this content. So I'll just copy and paste this below, center it, and I'm going to drag that just open so I can see what I'm doing. Let's give that 60 pixels, and I'm just going to, again, that padding top unit, it's all 60 pixels. I'm just going to Command Shift click each of these, and I'm going to center that text. Now to get our button in the middle, I'm going to click the full frame and I'm going to center that. We could drop this down to a H2 if we wanted, but I don't think that looks quite as nice. All right, and now we just grab the logo, chuck that down the bottom. Again, thinking about our grid, give it a nice little 600 pixels, and that's not quite over, 165, that does it. That means that wasn't 165, awesome. So let's go and jump in to Icon Monster and go grab some social media icons. So let's search for Facebook. Let's go the circle one, why not? Agree, embed. Paste, thank you Figma, and 20 maybe 30 pixels. Let's make them a bit easier to click. And change that to white. I'm going to hit Shift, I'm going to hit Command G and then Shift A. Just so that it puts it in a frame, doesn't turn the frame that's within the icon into an auto layout frame. So let's just call that social icons. Facebook. All right, now Twitter. agree, embed, copy, paste, right in there. So if that social icons is already selected, it'll paste it right in. Constrain 30 pixels. Let's switch that back over to white. And I'm pretty sure they'd have an Instagram account too. So let's just put that in. Agree, embed. Fantastic. Let's flick that over to white. And constrain 30 pixels. Awesome. So now I've got that frame. I'm just going to drop this into the bottom here. Let's keep it middle aligned to the logo. And let's keep this constraint to the right and to the bottom, and this to the left and the bottom. And I'm actually going to put this into a frame. So if I double click on this, hold shift click, click on this, and then go Command Option G, that'll create a frame, and I can put this frame, constrain this frame to the bottom and then to the middle. And now I can just click on this parent frame, which is our footer, and hit shift click and put that in the center. Actually, excuse me, I will take this off. Again, let's just set this to fill container. 6060-165 looks good to me. I'm actually just going to create this as its own little section. If you hold command, it'll happily fall into that frame. And then I'm just going to hit auto layout. I don't know, 20 pixels, maybe 30. I'm going to change that frame to this background, and I'm just going to use that HSL selection, and I'm just going to drop that luminance down just a couple of margins. So it's still like the same hue, it's still the same saturation, it's just a little bit darker. So that should like help tonally to fit in. And because this is a big CTA, I might actually bump this spacing up to 80. And let's get the footer a little bit more breathing room. $10, this probably could be 15. Awesome. So I'm just, again, going to click on this section, hit Command A, and I'm going to hold Command, and I'm just going to click on that arrow to tidy up our layout panel. I'm going to name this footer. I'm going to name this call to action or the banner. Now it might be nice to chuck in another gym image for this banner just to give it a bit more texture. That's a good one to chuck in. Yeah, maybe this one. Fantastic. Again, just zooming out, holding Command, clicking this image, Command X, and then holding Command, I'm clicking on this banner. I'm going to have to turn off auto layout to get this to work, and then I'm hitting Command V. And I'm holding Alt and Shift and just dragging that in. And this will be our image. And I'm going to give it a similar kind of treatment to this guy here. So it's the same drill as before. I'm going to Command D that image. I'm going to rename it to treatment. Going to minus that, plus this. Actually, I might switch it over to that 4. I will detach that style, and I'll set it to color. Cool. And now I will duplicate that treatment. I'll set it to pass through. I'm going to click on this and change it to a little radial gradient. Actually, let's make this linear. Beauty. And that looks pretty nice. And I'll just drop this opacity down to maybe 40%, 30%. And I'm just clicking the numeric keys on the top of my keyboard to get that opacity down. And I'm holding all this. And now I'm just going to select all this, shift click, Command G to get that into a group, and then Command square bracket to get that below. I'm just going to rename that to image so the developer can find it easily enough. hitting plus on that export and setting it to JPEG. That'll flag it for export for the developers. And now when I click on this image, it's probably just a little bit too, so if I command click, it'll open up this folder. It's probably just a little, not opaque enough. So I might drop that down to 10%. And let's bring that fade down just a little bit more. And there you have it, guys. That's how I would create a dark landing page for a local gym in Figma. If you have any questions or you got stuck at all throughout the video, please leave a comment below. I'd love to see if I can help out. Thanks so much.